The moment I walked into the Cedar Ridge Country Club, my future daughter-in-law's mother looked at my suit, lifted her champagne glass and laughed. "Well," she said to the women beside her, "the oil change man owns a tie." She made sure I heard it. I was 67 years old, wearing the only grey suit I owned, shoes I had polished at my kitchen table, and a tie that had belonged to my late brother. My hands still carried the faint smell of grease, after 41 years of repairing engines. I had come because my son, Noah, was announcing his engagement. For 1 second, I considered turning around and going home. Then Noah appeared beside me and caught my arm. "Dad," he whispered, "give me 1 hour. Do not leave before the toast." There was something in his eyes I had never seen before. Not embarrassment, not fear, decision. "My name is Walter Harland. Most people call me Walt. For more than 4 decades, I ran Harland Auto and Welding outside Franklin, Tennessee. My father opened the place in 1968. I grew up sweeping floors, sorting bolts, and learning that a man's character could usually be measured by what he did when nobody was watching. Noah grew up in that shop too. He studied engineering, built a successful career, and learned how to walk through expensive offices without becoming impressed by expensive people. That was why I was surprised when he fell in love with Lydia Whitcomb. Lydia was beautiful, polished, and always perfectly prepared. Her father, Grant, was a developer. Her mother, Marlene, ran charity galas and spoke so softly that every insult sounded respectable. They never openly attacked me in front of Noah. They were smarter than that. Marlene called my business a charming little garage. Grant asked whether I had considered selling now that the area was becoming valuable. Lydia once described my home as having authentic working-class character. I understood what they meant. To them, I was not a businessman, a father, or a man who had kept 12 families employed through recessions and floods. I was grease under their fingernails. Still, Noah loved Lydia, so I stayed polite. The gala that night was supposed to raise money for the Whitcomb Civic Trust, then end with Noah and Lydia's engagement announcement. The ballroom was filled with donors, politicians, developers, photographers, and people who knew exactly where to stand when a camera appeared. My wife Ruth could not attend because she was recovering from surgery. Before I left home, she ironed my shirt and handed me a letter she had written for Noah and Lydia. "Do not let them make you feel small," she said. I promised I would not. Then Marlene made her joke, and I nearly broke that promise within 30 seconds. But Noah had asked for 1 hour, so I stayed. During dinner, I watched him near the stage. He looked calm, but too calm. Lydia kept glancing at him, as though she sensed something had changed. Grant spoke to him twice, smiling for the room, while gripping his shoulder harder than necessary. Then Grant stepped behind the podium. He gave a long speech about service, community, dignity, and legacy. He used all the right words. Men like Grant always do. Finally, Marlene joined him. "Tonight," she announced, "we are honoring a local man whose family has occupied a small but meaningful corner of this county for generations." Occupied. That was how she described 41 years of work. "Walter Harland," she said, "please join us." The room applauded. I walked toward the stage with Ruth's letter still inside my jacket. Behind Grant, the screen showed an old photograph of my father standing outside our shop. Then another appeared, me at 30, sitting on a tow truck with 4-year-old Noah beside me. The audience made that soft, sentimental sound wealthy people make when poverty looks attractive in an old photograph. Grant placed a folder on the podium. "Walter," he said, "your property can become the foundation of a vocational training center. Tonight, we invite you to preserve your family's legacy." He opened the folder and placed a pen beside it. The applause began again. That was their plan. A room full of witnesses. My son beside his fiancée. Cameras everywhere. They expected me to sign rather than embarrass Noah. I looked at him. For 1 terrible second, I wondered whether he was part of it. Then Noah took the microphone from Grant. "My father will not be signing anything tonight." The applause died. Grant's smile froze. Lydia stepped forward. "Noah, honey, this is not the time." He ignored her. "Since the Whitcombs want to discuss legacy," he said, "the donors and board members deserve to know what they plan to do with my father's." The screen went black. Then a legal document appeared. At the top was my name. Below it were the words Irrevocable Property Transfer Agreement. I had never seen it before. Noah explained that 3 weeks earlier, he had overheard Grant and Lydia discussing my land. A private medical group wanted the entire block where my shop stood. The Whitcomb Trust planned to convince me to donate the property for a training center, hold it briefly, then transfer it through one of Grant's companies for nearly 6 times its current value. The training center never existed, neither did my consent. They had created board minutes claiming I attended a meeting. They had drafted a letter in my name saying I wanted to retire. They had even prepared documents with a place for my signature. Grant reached for the microphone. "This is a family misunderstanding." Noah pressed a button. Grant's recorded voice filled the ballroom. "If we put Walt on stage, he will not refuse. Men like him are grateful when people like us include them." Nobody moved. Then Lydia's voice played. "Put the real papers beneath the tribute letter. He will sign because Noah asks him to." Lydia went pale. Marlene whispered that the recordings were out of context. Noah played another. "I do not care what story we tell afterward," Marlene's voice said. "Call it a memorial. Call it a school. Just get the parcel cleared before the medical group walks." The room changed. Donors lowered their glasses. Board members began whispering. A city official at the front table slowly removed his name badge. Lydia turned to me, tears appearing with remarkable speed. "Walt," she said, "you know I would never hurt you." It was the first time she had spoken my name as though I were human. I thought of my father painting the shop sign by hand. I thought of Ruth ironing my shirt. I thought of every young mechanic I had hired when nobody else would give him a chance. Then I looked at Lydia. "I think you have already said enough." Her tears became anger. She turned on Noah. "You ruined everything." Noah's face tightened, but his voice stayed calm. "No. You discovered I was not for sale." 2 people walked toward the stage. One was Denise Alvarez, a real estate attorney and former student of Ruth's. The other was a state investigator. Denise announced that copies of the recordings, forged documents, emails, and financial records had already been delivered to state and county authorities. The investigator advised the Whitcombs not to destroy evidence or contact witnesses. Grant finally lost control. He pointed at Noah and me. "You think you can humiliate my family and walk away?" Before I could answer, the mayor stood. "Grant," he said, "sit down. Remove my name from every document connected to your trust." That was the first crack. Then a donor demanded her pledge back. A contractor said he had emails. A foundation employee began crying and admitted money had been moved from restricted accounts. Within minutes, the ballroom Grant had filled with admirers became a room full of witnesses. I did not feel victorious. I felt tired, angry, relieved, but most of all, I felt seen. The Whitcombs had believed my politeness meant weakness. They had mistaken clean hands for important hands, and greasy hands for disposable ones. That night, the room finally understood which hands had built something real. The investigation lasted months. The Whitcomb Civic Trust collapsed. Authorities discovered fake community projects, diverted donations, forged agreements, and other property owners who had been manipulated through promises of gardens, schools, and neighborhood centers. My shop had not been their first target. Grant eventually accepted a plea deal and served prison time. Marlene received house arrest, probation, and a permanent ban from charitable boards. Lydia cooperated to avoid prison, but lost her career, her reputation, and the marriage she had expected to control. Before the criminal case expanded, their lawyers offered us $400,000 for silence. I will not pretend it was easy to refuse. Ruth and I could have used that money. But silence would have left the next victim standing beneath another chandelier with a pen in his hand. So we said no. The shop is still mine. I work only 3 mornings a week now. Noah left his consulting job and helped turn the second repair bay into a training program for young people who need a first chance. Ruth brings cookies and pretends they are for everyone. Months after the gala, Noah apologized for bringing Lydia into our lives. I told him, "You brought love. They brought deception. Those are not the same thing." He lost the future he thought he wanted, but he kept the part of himself that mattered. People still ask whether exposing the Whitcombs publicly was too cruel. I tell them this: when someone builds a trap in public, they do not get to demand privacy when the truth dismantles it. Marlene called me the oil change man because she needed me beneath her. Grant called my life's work a parcel because land is easier to steal when you stop seeing the person standing on it. But they were wrong about me. More importantly, they were wrong about my son. A man can leave his child a building, a business, or money. But the real inheritance is the decision that child makes when comfort is offered in exchange for character. Under that chandelier, Noah gave me my answer, and it was worth more than every dollar they tried to steal.